Before we continue, pause and look at the pattern again. Yahweh brought many out of Mitsrayam, out of Egypt, but not all remained on the path. Deliverance was never the final destination. It was only the beginning of the journey. Because after the calling comes the wilderness. And the wilderness reveals everything: the heart, the obedience, the endurance, and who will truly continue forward. In this next part, we're stepping deeper into the proving ground. Not theory, not emotion, testing. Because the narrow path doesn't only call people out, it filters them. Let's continue. So as we think about this, what 2 Esdras 8:3 tells us is that many are created, but few shall be saved. Creation itself is broad, salvation is narrow. And find it interesting how this says that many are created. And so this is going back to creation itself. And if you don't know, maybe it's a study we'll do sometime, but what scripture tells us is that all souls were created on day one of creation. Genesis doesn't tell us that. We have to go to the sealed scrolls to get that, but it tells us that all souls were created on day one of creation. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but something that we can certainly study, or you can look it up. But all souls were created on day one of creation. He says, many are created, but few shall be saved. Man, I don't know. That's just, that just says that he is very selective in who he's choosing and who he is saving.
So my wife just had a question. She's like, so why create them? Why create them all then? If, you know what I mean? If that's the case, you know, nobody has to be here just to go to hell. Oh, but she didn't. I added that last part.
well, you know, think about it. You know, and this is what I see based on what we read. He is looking for those who are going to be obedient to him, those who are going to be faithful to him. Those are the ones that he would like to spend eternity with. Because the same could be said, since he created all the souls, he created the angels, and not all of them were obedient. Some of them rebelled. So he is looking for those to spend eternity with who want to be with him. Those who are obedient.
Yeah, I like that. That's that free will. He's not gonna force you to love him, to follow his commands. It's just like you don't want to be with somebody that you got to make them love you. Like if we together, you need to be loving me in the first place. So I got that.
And for sure. And you know, it's a great question though. But when you think about he and what you said is free will, he gave that to everyone. Everyone has a choice. And because he all gave us the ability to choose, that free will, and those who endure, we talked about that endurance, those who endure, those are the ones that he would like to spend eternity with. And I do like your analogy, you know, of with the married couple, because in a marriage relationship, there is endurance that takes place from time to time. Things happen. Not everything is, you know, roses and Not everything's always nice. But that refining we go through, man, that makes our relationship so much stronger. And that's what I really feel bad for those who don't choose to endure in their marriage relationships. I'm not talking about abusive stuff. I'm talking about just the normal stuff that occurs in life between two human beings. And we endure those things, man, that makes our marriage so much stronger. But anyway, that's a different story. But I love that analogy. The patterns, they never change. Many start, few remain, only the enduring finish. Period. So Hebrews 3:14, if we hold fast to the end, that means when we look at that particular passage, for we have become partakers of Messiah, if we hold fast the beginning of our trust firm to the end. If we hold fast. We start, there's trying, there's refining, there's testing, and we have to trust all the way to the end. That's why many start, few remain, and only the enduring finish. So this particular slide itself, it paints a really clear picture for me. This is the filter. The path, the narrow path, is a filter. The people are not filters, leaders are not filters, etc. The path itself is the filter. The pressure that we're under as we pass through this path, what it does, bottom line, it reveals commitment. That narrow gate, that narrow path reveals whether or not we are committed to the Most High. That's the commitment. And Deuteronomy 8:2 tells us something else, that it reveals who will continue, who will turn back, who will endure. It's proving what's in our heart. That's what the narrow path does. It proves what's in our heart. And there are three outcomes. It absolutely identifies who will turn back, who will say, this is too hard, who will compromise. I'm going to do some of this other religious stuff along the way, and who will simply endure and stay on the straight and narrow path. The other thing we see in Deuteronomy 8 is that this calling brings us out, and the wilderness itself reveals what's in us. The calling brings us out, the wilderness reveals who we are, and this is where our identity is exposed. This is where who we are becomes clear. It's not lip service, not something we just say. It's something that is proven and it's exposed, it's revealed all along the journey. Again, this is why some don't make it, because their character will not allow them to. What's being tested? Belief is not being tested. It's actually obedience. The scripture tells us that, the devils believe and tremble. So it's not about belief. It's about obedience. It's not about a confession. It's about endurance. Because what it's telling us is that faith is tested by fire. Fire is the thing that proves everything. The other thing that we saw in week 1 is that Jubilees. It also shows that testing occurred of the patriarchs, if you will. Abraham was tested before elevation, etc. Everyone gets tested. Even those that were the chosen elect were tested. 1 Peter 1, 6 and 7.
It says, in which you exult, even though for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by manifold trials, in order that the proving of your belief, much more precious than gold that perishes and proven by fire, might be found to result in praise and respect and esteemed at the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, Yahawashai.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Proven by fire. Those proven by fire that might be found to result in praise. So, I mean, who does that? When we're being tried, who actually praises in their trial? Those who are being obedient, those who are enduring, those who have their heart right with the Most High. It is possible to begin and to not finish. That's the hard truth. You can start and not finish.
That throws away that once saved, always saved doctrine.
Yes, it does.
Because a lot of people, they believe that, once they're saved, that's it. There's really nothing else they need to do to maintain, their salvation. It's like, oh, well, I got saved. I went down there, I lifted my hand, and that's all I have to do. So it debunks that.
Completely. It dismantles that whole false security thing, because that's what that is. That's really false security. And it gets dismantled when we start talking about endurance. Week 1, we talked about these 2 paths. Now we're talking about not all remains. And this narrow way, this narrow gate, it's not something that happens by accident. Yahweh intentionally created this filter where only a few will make it through. Yahweh created it because narrow is the gate and constricted is the way which leads to life, and few there are who find it. Few. This repetitive pattern is one that we see that we have no choice but to accept it. And if we reject it, he rejects us. What we see, salvation is the process. The wilderness is the proving ground. The remnant, they're the ones that are the result. They're the outcome. They're the ones that make it through. Identity is formed and found under pressure of this world. And then ultimately it's about endurance, and that's a requirement. It's required that we endure. Verse 12 of Philippians chapter 2, so that my beloved, as you always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much rather in my absence. Work out your own deliverance with fear and trembling. Work out your own deliverance, your own salvation in fear and trembling. No one else can do that for us. That's why we are encouraged to read and study the scriptures for ourselves and to prove and test whatever it is that someone else shares with us, including me. We have to individually test it to make sure it is true. So the real question is not that, am I called? Because what we've seen is that many are called. That alone by itself, it doesn't mean anything. Just being called doesn't mean anything. That's not where it's at. What we see those who are tested. Luke 8:13 is telling us that those who are tested and that don't have a strong root, they fall away. Can't stand the test, can't make it through. That's why we have to get the word in us. Here are the right questions. Am I enduring? Am I being refined? That's the right question. So again, it's not about am I called, but am I enduring? Am I refined? And the evidence of choosing, it means that that we continue under the pressures of the world. We continue under the pressures of the refinement. We continue along the path, no matter how rough it gets. Hebrews 3:14 says that we have to be steadfast until the end. We have to continue until the end. That's what it's all about. Again, many are invited, few are established. So the invitation itself is wide. Everyone has the invitation, but the establishment itself is narrow. So being chosen is the result of remaining aligned with Yahweh. And that alignment with him comes through testing. Again, when we look at Matthew 22:14, for many are called, but few are chosen. I know that statement's been said all throughout this assembly today. But it's something we need to get into our spirit, that many are called, few are chosen. So as we wrap up, and we understand that there will only be few. That's a reality. And the hard part for me is particularly when it comes to family members who have not yet taken this seriously, and would rather take the easy way, the broad way versus the narrow way. And that's where, not just myself, but that's where we continue to be an example. We continue to share. We continue to be gentle, but do it in a way that is truthful. So we continue to do that. But this wilderness journey is what we will continue to talk about next week. And week 3 will be all about how we enter the wilderness. But this is where it happens. This is where testing intensifies. This is where the pressure increases. And this is where many fall. And we're Deuteronomy 8:2 has been kind of a backdrop of this particular study. And it defines the purpose. To the humble, to those who are being proven, to those whose heart is being revealed. And so the next stage is where separation becomes visible. Because you think about it, when Yasharal, when they were released from Egypt, he had this large nation that was released from Egypt. And those who actually made it to the end, they saw many people drop off, died, did not make it to the promised land. Even Moses, he didn't make it. And he was one of the elect. Obedience is important. The next stage reveals the separation and makes it very visible as to who is making it and who is not. As we close week 2, remember the pattern. Many are called, but few are chosen. Yahweh brings many out, but the path reveals who will remain. The wilderness is not a mistake. It is the proving ground. It exposes the heart. It refines identity. It forms the remnant. Next week, we go deeper into the Exodus pattern. Deliverance is the beginning, not the end. Stay faithful, endure to the end, and continue walking the narrow path. Shalom.